Hi guys, so our topic for today is proofreading. Employees, students have been told to proofread time and time again, but what maybe they haven't been told, as I have found is the case, is how to proofread. So that's what I'm here to tell you today. I'm going to show you a triangle, and there is some text within this triangle, and there's an error in the text, and I want you to see if you can find that error. And I'm going to hold this up. So here you go. And now, if you haven't seen that error yet, read the text backwards. And then it sticks right out to you that there are two thes in that sentence. Proofreading and reading are two different things. When you read for content. You read to learn something. You read for information. When you proofread, you are reading to look at the tiny marks on the page. You're not reading for content necessarily at that point. It's really hard to do two things at once. And that's why when you proofread, you have to slow yourself down. And reading backwards obviously is a good way to do that, and it also separates you from the meaning, because springtime, the Paris in love I makes no sense, right? So it's really easy to see that extra the. But when you read it forward, the sentence makes sense if you leave out the extra the, which is easy to do because our minds fill in the blanks. You've probably seen those things floating around on social media that have a lot of misspellings within them, and maybe even like some numerals in place of letters from the alphabet, and you can still read them. And yeah, some people use that to say, well, we shouldn't have to worry too much about proofreading, but one little letter can sometimes change the entire meaning, or one little punctuation mark can change the entire meaning, either of those, of what it is you're trying to say. So it does matter. And if your readers cannot fill in the blank, then you have to give them the correct information to begin with. Back to the idea that it's very difficult to do two things at once. So in this case, to read for content and to read for the marks on the page, I want you to look at this little optical illusion. You probably see a duck right off the bat. And it's also a rabbit. The rabbit is, the duck's bill becomes the rabbit's ears. And he's leaning his head backwards like he's looking upward at a carrot that someone's holding up for him. So kind of like, maybe that helps you see the rabbit a little bit. But what I want you to do is look at that and try to see the duck and the rabbit at the same time. Now, it's probably hard to do that, because what you're trying to do is two things at once. Now, you might be able to do this. This is just a line and a dot. And sometimes with text, you can proofread it by just reading forward from the beginning, not using any special methods to find your errors. But when the text becomes more difficult, the errors become more difficult to find. Look at this optical illusion. That is both a young lady and an old lady. For the old lady, think Cruella de Vil. Looks like she has a long pointy chin, a stole maybe made out of some Dalmatians, a big nose. She looks like a Disney villain. The young lady is looking over her shoulder, and you're getting a profile view of her. The mouth of the old lady becomes the young lady's necklace. You can freeze this if you need to try to see those. If you can see both of them, try to see both of them at the same time. Very hard to do. If there were a way to separate the two and see them one at a time, you would want to use that method. So what I want to talk about is proofreading methods that will help you do exactly that. Separate the meaning from the marks on the page so you can find your errors. The first one I want to talk about is the ruler method. And for this method, you're going to use probably a folded piece of white paper is going to be best, and underline one line of text at a time so you don't allow your eyes to jump ahead, and you can just stick to that underlined line before you move forward. This is an extreme method, the window card method. This is where you take a 3x5 card and using an X-Acto knife, cut a little word-sized window out of the middle of the card, and then use the card to slide it along your text, looking at one word at a time. It's kind of like the ruler method in that it is hiding what you're not looking at, but it's hiding a lot more because it's hiding what's on top, what's on the sides, what's on the bottom. The next method we actually already talked about. Read backwards. Am I telling you to take your entire document and read it from page 7 to page 1? Yeah, I actually am. Proofreading is a time-consuming, detail-oriented task, and it's some people find it fun. Some math-headed type people, those what is it, left brain, right brain, whatever it is, the people who like to look at the details sometimes might like proofreading, but honestly it's tedious. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of details. Reading backwards will take you some time, but it's going to help you find the extra words. It's going to help you find misspellings. It's going to help you find words that aren't even supposed to be in there. The next method I have for you is to read out loud. When you read silently, your eyes are quicker. Your eyes and your mind together are quicker than when you have to add in forming each and every word with your mouth. So this will slow you down, reading that text out loud. That is also a fantastic way to edit your work, to see if it makes sense, to hear it, to make sure it flows and has nice transitions. So I recommend reading out loud in the editing stage as well, which is a different stage than proofreading. This is a method I use the most, probably. It's the finger pencil method. You can also do this on your computer screen using your cursor. And for this method, you're going to take some device, your finger or a pencil, and point to each word as you read it. And again, that is going to take you some time. But proofreading is a task that takes some time. The next method actually is from a former student. I had not thought of this one myself nor seen it anywhere, but this student told me that he highlights on his computer screen. You take the cursor, highlight a line, proofread that line, and then take that cursor and do the next line. So this is another proofreading method that you guys can use, is to highlight. I would recommend using more than one method with each document that you're looking at. You want to find your errors because certain errors can make a big difference, and it also makes the best impression if you give someone error-free text rather than stuff that has issues throughout. Please also take note that though you should absolutely run your spell checker, you should not leave it alone to run on autopilot. It can make some bad choices for you. Once in my past, it turned a story that I was responsible for editing that was supposed to be about the Mormon church into a story about the moron church. Those were not very good times. So that was spell checker on autopilot. Don't let that happen to you. It's like autocorrect on your phone. You got to double check that stuff. So make sure that it's not saying things that you do not mean to say. And those are some proofreading methods that I expect you to use on the documents that you create for this class, as well as the things you write to communicate on social media and to your family, and if you ever write letters to the editor or anything really, because error-free text is the best way to communicate what you're actually trying to say.